Good evening and good morning, flock of the King. This is Randy Richards with Rockstar Preacher Ministries Reloaded. Hope everyone's doing well today, May 10th, 2024. I wanted to discuss this with you real quick and show it to you. Why tonight's massive solar storm could disrupt communications and GPS systems. They put out a G4 warning, which hasn't been put out in about 20 years. And I'm sure everybody watching this channel and Mr. MBB 333 channel knows about the Carrington event. And I'm sure everyone knows about Isaiah's prophecies in the Old Testament that the sun would burn 7 times brighter. On December 27th, 2004, I would like y'all to Google that and put the word magnetar pulse with it. A magnetar is a big neutron star. And mainstream media actually reported it. It said we were glanced and it took a portion of our shields away, which I really don't think is possible. And I have written and contended for 15 years that that's why they spray aluminum oxide and barium to reflect the deadly radiation coming through our magnetosphere, which does not work anymore. If it did work, then why would Washington have a department that's called SRM, which stands for Solar Radiation Management? If you have to have a department of your government that's in control of managing the solar radiation, well, that means the magnetosphere is not. And we can go further in Scripture down the timeline and read where it says the sky shall roll up as a scroll, just like Mars. So this stuff is important. Everything that I've written about since 2011 has been about the sun. It's always been about the sun. We are in the 5th sun age, according to the Aztec prophecies, and they are correct. So let's read this real quick, and I'll let you watch a little short video. I believe there's going to be a commercial here. I might ought to mute that. I have no idea what YouTube likes and what they don't like, and I'll mute it though, if it's a commercial. Because in the 1800s, when the Carrington event occurred, it was an X10, X20? No, I don't think it was X20. It was an X pretty high. And it shot flames out of the telegraphs, because that's all they had, were telegraph machines. Okay, let's stop that for a second. Chick in the red dress, hold on. But anyway, yes, the Carrington event was an X flare, a higher X flare, and it shot fire out of the telegraphs. If that same type of X flare were to occur now, our entire grid would go down. Okay? Seriously. And if you've noticed lately, I was going to do a film about this, but we'll go ahead and talk about it now. If you've noticed lately, it's been about 2 to 3 months that there's been way too many online interruptions. You had Facebook go down worldwide. eBay's been down. I think AT&T was down. Verizon was down. And these not because of storms, but they just they were offline. And I've always written, and this is how I've written it, that our first indication that the binary system was upon us. And now, well, I've always written that it is a possibility that it is a trinary system. It's a very good possibility it's a trinary system. My father gives me, I guess, as much info as I can handle, and then he adds to it and improves it and sharpens it and hones it. So I'm really thinking, and I will be doing studies and researches, and I will share that with you about the trinary system. It's the only thing that makes sense, really. If you look at disruptions in magnetics and electromagnetics and gravity, the theory of gravity, whatever you want to call it, yeah, it wreaks a lot of havoc trying to predict the movements of 3 suns. All right, let's see what this young lady has to say.
Luck. Tonight, a powerful geomagnetic storm could trigger an extraordinary view
Did she just say
of
that
the
we're in
aurora
luck?
borealis
Hold on.
across the United States.
Hold on.
And the stunning show could strike on your bucket list. You may be in luck. Tonight, a powerful...
Yeah, we may be in luck. That's the way the mainstream media portrays this. Okay, fine. I've been 15 years, and they look at you like you're crazy. Like, this cannot be a bad thing. Well, you don't form Space Force for no reason. If you form Space Force, then that, to me, that spells that there's a threat from space. And what I was going to say earlier, our first line of sight, line of defense, that's the word. Our first line of defense will be satellite disruption. And that's what we've been seeing. Intermittently, here, there, but there's just been way too many of it. Now, you could say it was hacking, very well might be. But when you put it with this many, as you will see, solar storms and sunspots, you got to kind of link the two. Let's listen to the lady in red. Come on, lady in red. The lucky ones are listening. Oh, come on, man. She's mad. She's not going to talk. And that very well might be all right with me. You're not going to talk, lady? I got you in front of people. Let's see. It's not going to do anything. All right. I will read you the article, and I don't have a red dress on. Washington, CNN, buckle up. An unusual amount of solar activity this week could disrupt some of the most important technologies society relies on. But this chick said that we were in luck. See, that's why she got shut up. And I didn't do it. We're in luck because some of the most important technologies society relies on could be disrupted. Oh my God, let me get rid of this. I have no idea how at the moment. On Thursday, the U.S. government issued, check us out, issued its first severe geomagnetic storm watch in nearly 20 years. Wow. Advising the public of at least 5 Earth-directed coronal mass ejections, as well as sunspots covering an area 16 times wider than the Earth itself. A severe geomagnetic storm, or G4, is the second highest grade in the U.S. government's classification system. Radiation from this activity will begin to hit Earth's magnetic field today and last through the weekend, said the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. NOAA's Severe Space Weather Watch suggests the storm could trigger numerous effects for life on Earth, possibly affecting the power grid, as well as satellite and high-frequency radio communications. Here's what that means for technology users. Communication impacts. The solar activity NOAA is talking about involves the release of energy from the sun that travels through space and eventually reaches Earth. When that radiation hits the magnetosphere surrounding the planet, it causes fluctuations in the ionosphere, a layer of the upper atmosphere. Those changes can directly affect satellites and other spacecraft in orbit, altering their orientation or potentially knocking out their electronics. Well, what's going to happen to the ISS? Because that's a spacecraft in orbit. And we'll take a brief pause here and go to Hopi prophecy. There are 9 prophecies. The Hopi's 9 prophecies. If you don't know about those, research them. Because about 7 of them have obviously and blatantly come true. They're not hard to see. And if you have any questions about them, leave me a comment or send me a message, and I'll show them to you. And look them up first, at least. 9 Hopi prophecies. One of their prophecies, one of the very last ones, is when a great house in the heavens falls to the earth with a crash. Well, with a crash means it's going to hit ground, because, I don't know, it doesn't sound like ocean to me. And the only great house I know, that would mean people living in it. In the heavens, as we know, is space, and I'll get more into that, but Jesus tells us that in Scripture. The heavens, it's not heaven. But anyway, the hope of prophecy, when a great house in the heavens crashes to the earth, my people's celebration shall come to an end. And I've always thought that the great house in the heavens was the International Space Station. And I always thought that a meteorite would take it out. That's kind of what I thought. I do expect it to fall. I don't want to be macabre or negative, but that's my feeling. It's in Scripture, so something's going to fall. And it's a great house in the heavens, so I'm going to assume the ISS. Anyway, had no idea that a solar storm could take it out until right now. I mean, if you're going to alter their orientation and knock out the electronics, the freaking thing might fall, don't you think? Moreover, the changes to the ionosphere can block or degrade radio transmissions trying to pass through the atmosphere to reach the satellites, and they can also prevent radio transmissions from successfully bouncing off the ionosphere, which some radio operators normally do to increase the range of their signals. Since GPS satellites depend on signals penetrating the ionosphere, the geomagnetic disturbance scientists are expecting, they're expecting it, could affect that critical technology used by, airplanes, good Lord, ocean-going vessels, and in the agriculture and oil and gas industries. I guess I'm shorting the market on Monday, but that's just a joke, not financial advice. And it could affect shortwave radio transmissions used by ships and aircraft, emergency management agencies, the military, and even ham radio operators. Ships and aircraft, emergency management agencies, the military, but even ham radio operators. Who wrote this freaking article? All of whom rely on the high-frequency radio airwaves that NOAA says could be scattered by the storm. There's a picture of the sun with a bunch of ominous things looking. The sun is rising with a flare over Korla. All right. Geomagnetic storms can impact infrastructure in near-Earth orbit and on Earth's surface, potentially disrupting communications, the electric power grid, navigation, radio, and satellite operations. NOAA's Space Weather Prediction Center said in a release, SWPC has notified the operators of these systems so they can take protective action. Who are the operators of the power grid? I guess the power grid people. What is the protective action? They should expound upon that. What about your cell phone? Consumer wireless networks rely on different radio frequencies in the high frequency band, so it appears unlikely. So your cell phone's okay, but the planes and the power grid and the navigation and space flight, it could be disrupted. All right, well, let's just go through this because I don't want to read it all. It looks like there's 5 major solar flares. Yep. The power grid is potentially at risk. Let's read that. Severe space weather can jeopardize power grids, according to NOAA, whose alert this week said to expect possible widespread voltage control problems, and that some protective systems may mistakenly trip out key assets from the power grid. So I would assume the protective system is brownouts, alternating the current, turning some off, turning some on, so it doesn't blow. Great. At least it's not 105 yet. In 1989, a space weather event led to a massive blackout in Quebec, Canada, for more than 9 hours after 9 hours after geomagnetic fluctuations damaged transformers. Wow. There it is right here. The largest known geomagnetic storm in history, known as the Carrington event of 1859, caused telegraph stations to spark and catch fire. That's wonderful. All right, well, wanted to get that out. That's a CNN alert. I don't usually do these things, but this is prophetic. It follows along exactly with what Isaiah said. Please Google magnetar pulse, December 27th, 2004, Boxing Day. Read about what happened then. And then just, if you have the time, read when the UN adopted the global warming agenda. Because it's going to be about 6 months after that magnetar pulse. Coincidental, huh? All right, everybody be safe. I don't get in the sun as little as possible. It's not the same sun. It's white, it's not yellow, which is indicative of a loss of helium, and I believe a precursor to supernova status. Because the prophecies all tell us that. The fifth sun shall end in cataclysm. Cataclysmo, according to Benjamin Solari Paravicini. But those are other films coming. And again, I'm amassing the studio, the equipment, and all that. And it'll be good, and I can't wait to deliver it. Thanks for stopping by today. You guys be careful and love God, love each other.